Ryan Rust steps off the left boards. Over the top, the circle. Whips it down low to Rickard Rakell near the goal line. Rakell one-touches it in front. Sidney Crosby, who one-touches it past the goaltender. Boom, boom, boom. Good morning to you. Good Friday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots. Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. Penguins have 3 games to go. The first of those is tonight in Newark against the Devils. That's a 7:08 p.m. faceoff. And there might not be a less discussed but more impactful subtext to this entire season than the revitalization of the power play. Remember, it's only all we complained about last season. And with no small cause, the Penguins finished 30th in the 32-team NHL. What was arguably even worse than that was, just watching it. Because it wasn't just that they couldn't score, it's that they'd set up and they would just pass around the periphery endlessly, seemingly waiting for, the other team to just say, hey, if you guys really want a lane and you give us $1, we'll get out of your way. And by the time they were done doing all that and the crowd was moaning and groaning, or there was this one dude, probably in about the 8th row, sits near one of the blue lines who would just scream his lungs out at the power play, like as if this was a personal affront to him, as if it had crushed his soul. But he had it right, and they didn't. He at least had some urgency, and they didn't. So David Quinn gets hired to Mike Sullivan's staff. He would replace, of course, the embattled Todd Reirden, who'd been responsible for both the power play and for managing the defenseman's usage right there on the bench in game. Quinn, like Reirden, was a former NHL head coach. Quinn, unlike Reirden, got results. You can say what you want about Reirden or whether or not it was fair to him or whether the players were even listening to him. Or, and don't rule this out, that the players themselves needed to be humbled by finishing 30th in the league before they would listen to anybody, whether it was Reirden, Quinn, or Mike Sullivan himself. Whatever the case, this past training camp, and I was sharing some of this with you at the time on this program, Quinn and, of course, Sullivan, they do everything together, put into play an approach in which the puck would be moved quickly, and then when it was moved quickly, that it would very, very, very soon result in a shot on goal. Not a shot off the end boards, not one of those intentional misses, not necessarily a shot pass, a shot on goal. Get it there. You can try to stick handle into the box, or you can just have the puck do that for you. You can try to pass through a maze of sticks along the ice, or you can just blast the thing. And even if you don't have, and the Penguins obviously don't, some sort of massive physical presence in front of the net, or even just like a super tough guy like a Patrick Hornqvist to go park there, it doesn't stop you from sending bodies there, even your most valuable bodies. So what we saw right away in training camp and then into the preseason games was that the net front presence became some sort of combination of essentially everyone, including Sidney Crosby, including Evgeny Malkin, including Rickard Rakell. There were no exceptions to who would go. And you could see right away, but especially from the point men, how different all of this looked. Because Quinn wanted his point men more than anything to A, get the shot on goal, or B, work it deep, collapse upon the net. And even with that, do it directly, do it aggressively, do it unapologetically, meaning if it gets picked off and they whip it out of the zone, big deal. Go back and get it and come flying up ice and try again. It's a lot better than just tiptoeing for 2 minutes. I had a pretty fun exchange with Quinn the other night, and I'm just going to play the whole thing for you in full, beginning with a little bit of a joke I cracked with him.
I was going to ask if you were truly the mastermind of this power play renaissance, but I'll make it a little bit more specific. Did you get to see, including on Sid's goal early in this game, what you had hoped to see entering the season in terms of quick passing, quick execution?
Yeah, I mean, listen, these guys have done a great job. It's when you've got this type of talent, you've got a great chance to have a good power play. And, these guys have certainly done a great job working together. And, obviously you have some peaks and valleys during the course of a season. We've gone through a little bit of a rut here, the second half of the season. But I think lately we've done a really good job rebounding. And, to your point, we've just moved pucks quickly. We've had a low ice mentality. And, it's just, like I said, when you got this type of talent, you got a chance to have a good power play.
And good for him. That's exactly what he should say. He should give all the credit to the people on the ice. He's not out there scoring that goal. He's drawing it up. He's diagramming it. He's enforcing it. He's encouraging it, but he's not out there actually doing it. This is a smart guy, and I hope you could pick that up from hearing that answer, especially if you're unfamiliar with the time that he spent in both New York and San Jose. Arguably overqualified for the job that he's doing, but as long as he's here and doing it, might as well be good at it, and he has been. When we come back, J1Q. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Today's J1Q isn't anything of the kind. To be honest with you, I don't know that I got a single question from anybody because almost all of the reaction to yesterday's tribute to Ray Shero were people offering their own condolences, memories, and the like. I want to share one of those with you. It comes from Jesse Rossi, who says, my aunt worked for the Penguins for years. When they won the Stanley Cup in 2009, my dad and I got to go to the employee party, and we met Ray. I was only maybe 13 years old, but I remember him taking the time to stop and talk with my aunt and my dad and I. Great guy. And I kissed the cup that day. I'll never forget that. And I'll always remember meeting Ray there as well. Chris says, it's a sad day for the whole hockey world. Prayers to his family. And Ray Wroblewski had my favorite. He said, plain and simple, great times with him at the helm. Rest in peace. And I'm going to take that first sentence of yours, Ray, and turn it into a semi-J1Q type response. Because when I think of the 2009 Cup in general, I think of what a blast that was. The whole thing. Understand, I've lived through all 5 of these. And there never will be, there never can be another first time, obviously, let alone first 2 times, like 91 and 92. In 91, I can attest firsthand, it was just disbelief. This franchise had just been a joke for a long, long stretch of time. Had been star-crossed, had been unlucky, had had tragedies. And even when Mario came along, it was 5 years of no playoffs, which seems unconscionable now that happened, but it did. Drafted in 84, didn't get into a playoff game till 88, but they won it. They did, and it was mission accomplished. And then to do it the second year was like that much more. It was just further validation, and you got your hopes up. And of course, in 93, they had the best team they've ever had, and, Islanders. But 2009 was different. It has its own special place in this franchise's lore. And here's why I say that. That cup belonged, really, if you think about it, to a completely different generation, not just of, the players themselves, with it being the first one for Sid and Gino and Flower and Stahl and Letang and all those guys. But it was such a high octane, high optimism environment in which they operated that's really difficult to relate to right now, I would imagine. I don't just mean with the Penguins. I just mean with Pittsburgh sports across the board. One generational player was drafted. Another generational player was drafted right after that. And both of those came right after a number one overall goaltender who'd end up becoming a Hall of Famer as Marc-Andre Fleury will. Brooks Orpik, don't forget, was a first rounder in that mix. Jordan Stahl comes along, and all you're thinking is, not one cup, but just endless cups. And younger fans, a new, literal in this case, generation of hockey fans in our city, in our region, took over. This was the bring pizza outside to us student rush line generation. And it was so much fun, in part because it did have a distinction from the past. It did have a distinction even from Mario and the second wave of Mario. Well, Ray Shero was the architect of that. Yes, of course, he inherited some wonderful players, and Craig Patrick made his own contributions to that before the change at GM, including, notably, signing Sergei Gonchar to that big, daring contract because he believed in Gonch so much and he knew what Gonch would be able to do for the kids, in particular, Gino, meaning off the ice. But as I mentioned on yesterday's show, Shero was also part of it. He was right there with them. A lot of the pictures and images and videos that have emerged over the past 48 hours since his passing have been shots from inside the locker room in Detroit because he was down there with them. He spoke their language. When they were mad that Marian Hossa switched sides after Shero was the one to bring Hossa to Pittsburgh and hook him up with Sid, and he thinks he's got a better chance with the other guys, Shero took that as personally as any of them did, and he let everybody hear about it. That was the energy, that was the emotion of that team. One final time before signing off this week, condolences to the Shero family.